pleasure to serve under your chairmanship, and it's an even greater pleasure to follow the Honourable Lady. And I shall certainly take advantage of the way that she has drawn this, the subject for this debate so widely to fit in my own contribution. Because I want to take us back to answer a fundamental question, and that is, how do we get students who are still at school to focus on the options of an apprenticeship and skills training rather than going to university? Now, those of you who know me may think that that's a rather surprising thing for me to have said. I went to 3 universities and had attachments to 2 foreign universities while doing that. So the Honourable Lady will have to forgive that, but I do seriously ask the question. Now, there are 2 aspects to answering that question. One is about the schools themselves, and the second is about the method by which we get people attracted to looking at the options of apprenticeships and skills training, and that is by work placements. And let me start by looking at work placements as a precursor to people going on apprenticeships. Now, I'm sure that we have all had people on work placements in our offices around here. I know that for much of the run-up to the summer holidays, I have a person on a work placement every week. I just wonder how many politicians we are trying to line people up to have here when we're supposed to be cutting back the number of MPs. Of course.
His eyes may care to drift towards the gallery, where he will see a young person from St Dominic's College in Harrow, just north of my constituency, but one who does live in my constituency, who is there, the living embodiment of the ideals and ambitions that he has just expressed.
Well, I'm extremely grateful to the honourable member for pointing that person out, and for the way in which he described them. I think they are very fitting to be included in this debate. But it's important to get in this. It's important to get other people involved in providing those work placements. It's not just something for politicians to be able to provide. We need to encourage small businesses to become involved in this, so that people get to understand the feel of the entrepreneurship that is involved in setting up a small business and running with them. And there are a couple of examples from my own constituency of companies that do that. I have Williams Tenders, who make boats to go on other boats. And they have a scheme of taking 10 people in the most deprived area of the constituency each year, and some of them go on to do apprenticeships. But what that training does is to provide them with a lot of experience, and also actually with a lot of fun, because they end their experience by building little boats that they race against each other, and I have been along to present the prizes to the winners of this. And although that may sound like great fun, it does provide a seriousness in the skills that they learn in how to make model boats, and from that to grow them up. And there are other companies as well that provide that experience, including a cabinet and kitchen maker who I've also visited. Now, what those work placements do is to take away from the apprenticeships a whole lot of learning. And those areas of learning include principally three areas that I'm going to mention. The first one is working well with other people. Now, that may sound an obvious thing to do, but for young people, knowing how to work with other people, how to deal with the dynamics of that is quite a skill that needs to be made. And one of the other skills that I think is crucial to learn, and that the work placements can provide, is how to cope with criticism. Now, of course, for us as politicians, coping with criticism is something that we take for granted. But so maybe the work placements in our own office do have a purpose in this. But I do think that it is an important thing for people to learn. And the third thing is in managing people's time, in managing your own time, in being able to make sure that that is part of how you approach life. And those are three of the examples of things that work placements can provide that will take away the need to pick up on those things during the training of apprenticeships, and will also help to make apprenticeships more attractive and for people to go into them. So if that's dealt with the work placement side of it, let me just turn briefly to the schools side of it, because it needs the schools also to participate in that. And I think we've only been partially successful in encouraging schools to encourage people to go into apprenticeships and skills training rather than university. Certainly going around to the schools in my own constituency, there is a huge variety of attitudes towards encouraging encouraging students to go into apprenticeships, from some who, quite frankly, still have a very old-fashioned view of life and only want to send and only measure success by sending their people to university. Of course.
Thank the honourable member for giving word, not only speaking as an MP but a former careers advisor. And would the honourable member agree that it's probably about time now to establish or re-establish a careers service, or formerly a connection service, which would help people make well-informed and realistic decisions?
Well, I'm open-minded on that. I just think back to my own time in fact, at university, where there was a careers service there, and I won't tell the House the advice that I was given, but let it be said that I didn't follow it at all, not in one iota, and I'm not sure whether that was down to the quality of the advice or the sheer cussedness of me in approaching it. But anyway, I take the honourable member's point. But I do think it's important that schools focus on seeing apprenticeships as a legitimate option that is equal to going to university, and I think that we need to judge where people go in that according to their own skills and their own inclinations as to how they do it. So I'm very pleased to have been able to contribute on how we get people to go into apprenticeships in the first place, and I do think that we need to put a little more finesse onto the work placements that are offered right around the country.
Order. The closing speeches